Hey everyone, Scott here to discuss the 2004 version of Dawn of the Dead, starring Sarah Polley, Ving Rhames, Jake Weber, Mekhi Phifer, Ty Burrell, Michael Kelly, Kevin Zegers, Michael Berry, Ina Korobekinka, forgive me if I said that wrong, and Jane Eastwood, directed by Zack Snyder. Now, why am I doing a Zack Snyder series? Well, I I saw the trailer for Rebel Moon, and it's going to be a two-parter on Netflix, and it looked interesting. So I'm curious about that. And I have to confess something before I get into the review. I've never seen the original Dawn of the Dead by George Romero, and I know I should watch it. I just haven't found a way to watch it yet. So, but I promise I'll get there at some point. So let's get into the movie. Anna, played by Sarah Polley, is a nurse at the hospital and deals with a doctor with weekend plans as she gets help for a 3-day weekend with her co-worker named Cora. And she gets home and sees a neighborhood girl, Vivian, roller skating backwards. And she gets home to her husband, Lewis, as they shower and sleep together until the next day comes. And Vivian starts biting, what's his name again? Lewis in the neck as she's a zombie. And Lewis turns into a zombie and she tries to escape and gets out safely until she gets hit by a tree because some asshole wanted to take Anna's car away from her. And this opening sequence is so chaotic from the get-go. And director Zack Snyder does a good job at making this movie start in a chaotic way, which was super crazy in my opinion. And the shots are visually stunning to look at. Anna wakes up and gets out of the car and gets a gun pointed at by Kenneth, played by Ving Rhames, whom I always enjoyed his presence in from movies like Pulp Fiction to Mission Impossible to Entrapment, and this performance by Ving Rhames doesn't disappoint me either in this movie. They encounter Michael, played by Jake Weber, Andre, played by Mekhi Phifer from 8 Mile, and his pregnant wife Luda, and not Ludacris, but Luda, who is a female, and they find a mall to break into before they get into the mall, before they get killed by the zombies in the unrated version. And it was cool that the zombie was moving super fast, and I did like the choice by director Zack Snyder also, as this is a good looking movie. The survivors stay inside the mall, and they encounter 3 security guards named AJ, played by Michael Kelly, Terry, played by Kevin Zegers, and Bart. And I'm not Bart Simpson, but Bart. That's the character's name. I'm not making that bullshit up. And they tell them to leave the mall, but they don't have a choice but to stick together in the mall as survivors while the zombies stand in front of the mall, only to wait for the survivors inside the mall. And I really like the fact that this movie has stakes that are safe but violent. They see on the TV that the zombie apocalypse is breaking worldwide, and this movie is fucking crazy. And I like there's a line on the TV that says, just shoot the zombie in the head and they'll stay dead, which is a fantastic advice from this movie if something like this were to ever happen. But to be fair, this movie is fiction, and they see on the TV that there's a search and rescue service for survivors, as Kenneth's brother that he brings up is there. See what I mean when this movie has stakes? And I care for Anna, Michael, Kenneth, Andre, and Luda more than CJ, Terry, Bart, and those motherfuckers were getting on my nerves. They find another group of survivors across the way named Andy. While they see a helicopter who doesn't save their lives, and they're surrounded by a shitload of zombies, and we learn more about Michael and the other characters in the unrated version. And I did like how that in the unrated version, whereas we do not know Michael is a TV seller in the Best Buy in the theatrical cut. And to be fair, the unrated cut has more gore in it too, so that's another thing, as well as that scene I just brought up. They wake up the next morning, and Anna, Kenneth, and Andre get washed up for the day as a truck arrives at the mall, and CJ points a gun at the survivors and gets he and Bart to the security. And what's his name? Terry gets Bart and CJ to the security room while Terry gets the other two bastards trapped up, and we meet Steve, played by Ty Burrell, who's a character I don't like as he's also an asshole, Nicole, Norma, Tucker, Glenn, Frank, as well as Monica, and other characters I don't have a mix on whether they live or die, as I don't give a damn about them. We get a fat woman, excuse me for saying that, who was in the truck as well, and she dies and becomes a zombie, and Anna takes a stab at her head, and they talk about who is bitten, and we see Frank was bitten at that point, and Michael thinks about killing Frank as Nicole is about to lose everything, including her father. And I didn't really care whether Frank lived or died because we don't get to know him too well enough. Frank off screen turns into a zombie as Kenneth and shoots him and kills him. And we move on to a slow version of the Disturbed song. Believe me, that's and when I say Disturbed, I'm talking about the band. Down with the Sickness but this is a slower version, as everyone relaxes at the mall and have some fun playing a game where they kill zombie after zombie, and I do like we have a little quiet time at this point. Anna asks Andre if she could check up on Luda as far as her pregnancy is concerned, and he declines, and they have dinner together, and the lights go off while Andre checks on Luda, and Michael checks the generator with CJ and Bart and Kenneth entering the stairway and looking for the generator, and they are encountered by zombies in the parking garage and find a doggy named Chips until zombies come in and attack Bart as he gets bitten, and more zombies come in and get burned up, as the movie isn't that scary, but it is intense and suspenseful. For example, Luda dies and gives birth to Andre's baby, and she becomes a zombie, and I thought, shit, she gave birth while a zombie, which was also intense. And we also see the baby was fucking born a zombie. Norma sees the baby was born in Andre's hands, and Norma shoots Luda dead while a zombie. And Andre shoots Norma as they both die, and the others come in and see the baby is, like I said, a zombie. And Anna has no choice but to shoot the baby zombie, which is a tad bit dramatic. They have a funeral as Kenneth feels nothing and decides to get out of the mall, while CJ has to shit all over the idea and decides he's in, and they make a thing for the truck where they cut the zombies in half and get prepared to kill the zombies, while Andy communicates with Kenneth, and Andy's saying he's hungry and gets everyone in a meeting as Anna and Michael kiss in the unrated version, while Kenneth gets an idea of Chips the dog going to Andy's place as the zombies don't eat the doggy, which honestly, it shocked me until Andy opens the door and Chips walks in, and the zombies come in as well and is getting killed by the zombie bite, and Nicole drives one of the trucks to Andy's to save the doggy and getting inside, while Kenneth tells Nicole to get the hell out of their building. And they go after Nicole, who was stupid enough to get across the way at this point in the first place, because how does everybody else get out of there? As that was irritating to me. Andy is a zombie, and Kenneth shoots him dead and gets Nicole out of Andy's building, as well as everybody else. And people turned into zombies like Tucker, and they get out of the mall with a truck to kill every zombie getting in their way. And Monica gets cut while Kenneth was driving the truck. As it flips, and Steve is killed by a zombie, and Anna shoots him dead after he becomes a zombie, like she promised earlier in the film. And that was a good payback, though. I will admit that. And Anna almost gets bitten as she steals a key from Steve, and they drive away, and they get on the boat. CJ is killed by blowing up some zombies as well as himself up to hell. And Michael gets bitten earlier in the film and doesn't go with them and then he ends up killing himself, and the remaining survivors take off without Michael. And the credits roll to the survivors happy to be alive until zombies come to them and kill every single survivor that is left, while Down with the Sickness by the band Disturbed is playing, and I couldn't believe the ending while the movie was chaotic from start to finish. Now it's time for my rating. I'll give this movie a a 7.5 out of 10. The movie was absolutely chaotic from start to finish, and I was entertained by how fucking crazy this movie is. And the shots were visually stunning to watch the movie with, as I was entertained from start to finish. Director Zack Snyder does a good job at making the zombies running to the victims super quick, as they were super fast. And the way this movie is looked, this is a good looking movie, as I like the fact this movie has stakes that are safe but violent. And I care for some of the characters, and as some of them more than others, as some of them are assholes. The movie didn't really scare me, but it left me entertained from start to finish, like I said. And this is one of the better zombie movies, but I have yet to see the original, which I will get there at some point, I promise. But this is a recommendation, whether you've seen the original or not, like I haven't yet, which I promise I'll get there one day. And you'll have a hell of a good time. So I'd like to thank you guys for joining me, and when I come back, it'll be a couple of weeks from now, with Zack Snyder with Legend of the Guardians, The Owls of Ga'Hoole, because I've reviewed 300 and Watchmen before, so that'll be the next stop at Legend of the Guardians, The Owls of Ga'Hoole. And until we get there, pick up, come on, let's down, come on, get down with the sickness.